Welcome to this DaVinci Resolve Fusion node breakdown. Today's node is the Cinematic Haze node. And this is a brand new DaVinci Resolve node available within Fusion. And it's available in the new 20.2 update, and it is studio version only. But this is another good reason to go ahead and buy that studio version. So let's go ahead and jump into Fusion, and we've got some footage and we want to add a little haze in this background. So we're going to hit Shift Space and add the Cinematic Haze. I'm just going to type in Haze and we're going to bring this up. And we have the AI Cinematic Haze node. And one thing with this node, when we come straight in, it's going to look odd because it's going to do some weird things with your alpha channel. And this is because this is a DaVinci Resolve node meant to be used within the color node. So if we brought this footage in, let me go ahead and just grab this. And we're going to go to our color page. And if I search for the Cinematic Haze node and I plop it on here, you can see it's not doing anything weird. And that's because the way our alpha channels work within our color grading tab is different than how it works within Fusion. But we can make this work within Fusion correctly. So let's go ahead and delete that, jump back into Fusion. And how to do this to make this operate like it does on the color page is we're just going to add a channel Boolean node. And we're going to input our original footage into the background. And we're going to go from our Cinematic Haze into the foreground. And if we go to our channel Boolean node, we can just copy everything. But on our alpha channel, we can either say do nothing, or we can say alpha from the background. But we're just going to do nothing for right now. So now we've got our haze working correctly as long as you're viewing this channel Boolean node. So on our Cinematic Haze, there's a lot of stuff going on here. So let's go ahead and jump in. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these halos right here, and I'm just going to cut them all the way down and reduce our threshold so it's not doing anything yet, because it's going to be a little overpowering. So up top, we have the ability to change our color space, so we can do a color space override. So we can change our input color space to whatever we need to if it's different. And we can change our input gamma if we need to. So you want to make sure you do that first before you do anything else, so our colors are coming correctly on our little node here. And the way this node works, and the reason why it's studio only, is because it's kind of doing an in-node depth map for you. So if I click this depth map preview, you can see it's creating a depth map. And this is what it's using to apply that haze. So it's not just applying haze everywhere, it's based off of our depth map. So underneath, we can change our depth map source, whether it's internal, or if we have it coming from our alpha, we can select from alpha, but we don't, so we're going to use that internal. And that means if we have our alpha channel coming in with depth map information, we can use that instead. And under quality, we have better and faster. So if it's running a little slow, switch it to faster, but I'm going to leave it on better. And right here, we can invert our depth map, and we can adjust the map levels. If I uncheck this, we can no longer adjust our map levels. These are doing nothing. But if I want to adjust them, I just click this. And once we do, we can adjust our far limits. We can adjust our near limits. And we can adjust our gamma. And if I need to do any advanced depth controls, I can select this advanced depth controls right here. And we can individually select isolation, so I can change my target depth. I can change the tolerance, and I can change the softness of this map. Additionally, if I want to do any post-processing, which I would after I had everything set up, I would go ahead and adjust any of my post-filtering. You can contract or expand your little depth map there, and we can add some blur if we need to. And down here for our blanking regions, we have automatic, but we can have process entire frame. That means if anything's getting cut off, it's going to fix any of those blanking areas. We can have auto with extra crop, and we can change our crop on the left, the right, the top, the bottom. And we can have manual, which gives us the same crops. But I'm going to leave this on automatic. And additionally, we have this deflicker right here. Because if we play, we can see we're going to get a little flickering. And the more deflickering you add, the smoother it's going to try to make it. But the more processing it's going to do on your computer. So this is why I wait and do the post-processing when I'm all done getting my look in, because that's pretty intensive on your computer. So let's go ahead and turn this advanced off. For right now, I am not going to use it. So we can adjust our depth map, and I'm going to use our regular one just to kind of get our limits to get the look I want. And if you're having a hard time seeing this, you can go to your atmospheric scattering, which we're going to go to next anyway. And we can brighten it up a little bit. So then we can come back and we can do any adjustments on our near and far limits. And I'm going to go to the end of our footage so I can see what's happening way down this street. And I'm going to adjust our far limit and our near limit because I want to make sure I pull her out. But I want it to look a little bit natural. And then we can change our gamma up. So I can bring that down. Now under our atmospheric scattering, this is the setting that is making her blurry. Because right down here we have resolution loss, because this is what this atmospheric scattering is doing. It's scattering your image and it's reducing your resolution just to get that look of stuff in front of objects within your footage. So I can reduce this resolution loss to bring her back in a little more. We can also change the air light, how much light is affecting that fog or that haze. We can change the density of our haze. And again, the resolution loss we can fix to bring in that footage a little better, because if I bring it up, you can see she's blurry, but I'll bring it down to make it a little less blurry. And then we can also colorize. So if I wanted to colorize our air according to our lights that are going on here, I can just grab this picker and select a light. And now our haze is the color of any lights. Or we can select this, select a color if we want. Or we can use the individual red, green, and blue sliders. Under halo lights, this is the one I turned down in the beginning because it's pretty intensive. So if I turn it up, you can see it's affecting our image quite a bit. But we can change our halo threshold. So change the threshold of when that haloing comes in. And if you notice, our haloing is being affected by the color of the actual lights. So you can see this is a little purplish, that's a little blue, that's a little white like our other lights. But we can change the size of our haloing. We can change the brightness. So I'm going to bring this brightness down and actually bump up our size a little bit. And then we can change our saturation, and this will help with those colors. If we don't want those colors in there so much, we can knock the saturation down so those colors aren't being introduced into that fog as much, or we can raise it so they're really being introduced. Additionally, we can colorize our little halos there. Same way, we can grab this picker and I can select this light. So all of them are going to be colorized like that. So if I bring it up, but you can still see we're getting some of those blues in there. But I'm going to bring this down a little bit so it's not so saturated. And we can also change the color right here. And we can change them individually on the red, the green, and the blue channel. Now for our light rays, we're going to go ahead and enable our light rays so we can see. And if you want them on, you just hit enable. If you don't, you just disable them. And there's two ways to have light rays come in. And that's at an angle and from a location. So let's go ahead and go over at an angle first. But before we do that, we have this source threshold. So if we preview our source threshold, we can pick what is being introduced as little rays within our image. So if I bring our threshold down, you can see all the bricks and everything are affecting it, but I can bring it up a little bit. So not so much of those bricks, and primarily just the super bright lights are affecting it. And if I have it set to add an angle, I can change the angle of our rays. I can change the length, make them shorter, make them longer. I can soften them up so they're not so harsh, or I can make them harsh if I want. I can change the brightness of them. And we can change the saturation of them. So if you notice, our rays are kind of soaking up the color-ish of our little lights that are coming in. So let me reset all this, because we're going to use from a location. And when we use from a location, we get this little gizmo so we can move the location of these lights. And our footage is moving, so we really want to track this footage. And there's two reasons why we want to track this footage. One, for the location of our rays. Two, this is going to come into play when we use this air disturbance. So let me go ahead and bring that up. Because if I use this follow FX tracker, again, this is meant to be a DaVinci Resolve node used within the color grading tab, is what it's originally developed for. So if we check this, it's automatically going to follow our little FX tracker within the color grading tab that we use. But oddly enough, it's also going to follow a tracker if we create a tracker. So how it knows, I don't know, but if we select it, it does it. And I've done some testing, and it's going to follow the first tracker you create. So if I create 5 trackers on here, 5 completely different trackers, it's going to use the first tracker that it finds, because we have no way to select what FX tracker it's using. So not to get ahead of myself, let's go back to light rays, and we've got our light rays enabled, and we want to find a location for this to be tracked to so our light rays are moving with our footage. So let's go ahead and add a tracker. And we're going to input our footage. Let's go to our tracker, and let's just track this little corner of the door up here. We're just finding a location to track so our rays move with our footage. So let's go ahead and track forward. So we've got our track, and I'm going to disconnect our tracker. So all I have to do is on our position node, right click, connect to the position of our tracker. So now our haze, or our light rays within our haze, are following our little track, slowly following our little track. So now that we got that there, let's go ahead and dial in the look of our light rays. So I'm going to leave our length, and I'm going to unsoften them a little bit, make them a little more prevalent. Let's change our brightness up just for the sake of this video. I probably wouldn't add this much to it, but we want to kind of see what's going on. So now if I push play, you can see our light rays are following along with our tracker. And I may speed this up a little bit because this is, even on my computer, you can see this is pretty intensive once we start adding all this stuff within the haze. So there we go. You can see our light rays are following along, and they're looking all right. A little too much, but I kind of want you to be able to see them within YouTube. So that's the light rays portion. Now, under air disturbance, we can enable air disturbance. And what this is going to do, if I hit this preview, it's going to add some like a turbulent noise to it. So if I change our brightness, change the scale up, I can change the amount of detail, but you can see we have this turbulent noise going. And if I just push play right now, it's just stagnant, sitting there in front of the camera, not moving, not very realistic at all. But I can jump down here to this seethe rate and I can increase our seethe rate, and it's going to be animated. So now you can see our little noise there is seething a little faster. Additionally, we can change the start frame of that seethe, or we can randomize the start frame. So we can just pick where we want the start frame to be. And it'll randomize the seed of that seethe. But again, it's not following along with our footage. It's just kind of unrealistically sitting there as our footage pans. But if I was to select this follow tracker, somehow it knows to use this tracker we created to follow along with that tracker. So now if I play, you can see our little air disturbance here is following along with our footage. So that's the importance of doing a tracker on this node if you plan on using your air disturbance, or if you plan on doing a light rays and have it following your tracker. But you definitely want to track for realistic purposes. Whether you're using on light rays or not, your air disturbance is going to need a tracker to follow along with your footage realistically. Otherwise, it's just going to sit there. But right here, we can also adjust the flow direction so it moves faster along with our tracker. So if I uncheck our little preview, now if we play, you can see our seethe and everything, our little noise is following along with our footage. And if we look at our before and our after haze, that's what our cinematic haze does. And if you notice, because we're using that depth map to create all this stuff, it's creating its own little occlusions. So as our character here goes over these lights, it's cutting these light rays in and out all by itself. So that is the new cinematic haze node. I will see you in the next node breakdown.